By the third day of driving, the road had become part of me. Long, endless gray ribbons under the endless desert sky. My Subaru Outback rattled faintly with every expansion crack in the highway. The steering wheel warmed to the touch from hours in my hands. The cabin was cramped with cardboard boxes, old duffel bags, and random things I hadn't managed to throw away when leaving Colorado. A lamp with a broken shade, a kettle, my college hoodie from 10 years ago, stiff with old lint. The passenger seat held my after-the-move checklist, a clipboard where I'd written things like open a new bank account, change address at DMV, get duplicate keys. Lists kept me anchored. Outside, nearing Flagstaff, the afternoon sun punished the land. No clouds, no breeze, just the burn of light that erased shadows. I had been awake for nearly 14 hours, dosing myself with gas station coffee that tasted like ash. When the radio cut out into static, I realized I was finally alone. The sign was nothing special. Weather-faded plywood, letters painted decades ago. Shady Acres RV Park, next exit. My first thought, kitsch tourist trap. My second thought, bad. The road ahead stretched in hypnotic straight lines. I'd been blinking too slowly. Tinges of double vision made the white stripes melt into a continuous gleam. It was either pull off or risk sliding into a ditch. So I turned. The gravel access road spat dust like chalk. The park itself sagged into a shallow valley. Rows of RVs squatted there. Dented Airstreams, faded Winnebagos, trailers with aluminum siding melted by years of sun. None of them looked alive, except for the office. Its neon open sign buzzed faintly, flickering red and blue. The building was no bigger than a garden shed, painted white back in some cleaner era. I pulled my Subaru into a corner spot, nose toward the exit. Old habit. If something felt wrong, I wanted to be able to leave fast. The air inside smelled of mildew and dust baked too long in the sun. An air conditioner hummed lazily, dripping water into a rusty ban below. No one behind the counter, but on the wooden desk sat a logbook. The words self-check-in, pick any spot, were painted above it in cheerful red letters that had faded to a sickly pink. Curious, I opened it. The handwriting froze me. Every line contained a name, a vehicle description, and a license plate number, each entry weeks or even months apart. And yet all the writing looked similar, as if different people's names had been copied by one meticulous hand. The last entry was just 3 days old, plate number circled, as if someone needed to keep track. I felt a shiver against the heat. Still, exhaustion argued louder than paranoia. I locked the car, stretched out across the back seat, and drifted. I woke unsure of time. The air outside was black, dense with desert silence. A glow caught my eye. One of the trailers, 3 rows away, was lit. A sharp bluish glare leaked through its blinds. I sat up, convinced I was dreaming. That's when another window brightened, then another. Shadows moved inside them. Human silhouettes, tall and thin, but I felt my stomach clench as I realized they were moving synchronously. Not random gestures, but identical motions, as if mirrored across different trailers. Every curtain swayed the same way, every hand lifted at the same time. I tasted copper in my throat. Instinct roared awake. I jammed the keys into the ignition. The Subaru's engine coughed and roared, way too loud. At that instant, every glowing window seemed to turn toward me. Curtains parted, dozens of thin slits, black as pupils, fixed in my direction. My escape route was blocked. Where I had first entered on an open gravel lane, now stood a chained metal barrier, padlocked, rust shining under the headlights. I knew it hadn't been there before. Shaking, I ran for the office. The logbook lay open again, even though I'd left it closed. At the very bottom, beneath the last entry, I read my own name, my Subaru's VIN. I hadn't written it, but the neat, calm handwriting mocked me. And under it, taped to the page, a photo. Faded driver's license picture of a woman, head tilted, brown hair, friendly smile. Under it, in red ink, the words, "Checked out." Something made me glance at the office window, where my Subaru gleamed faintly in the lamplight. A silhouette was sitting in the back seat, the woman from the photo. Her head tilted exactly as in the license picture, chin down, smile faint, eyes unreadable. She slowly raised one hand in a wave. That was enough. I bolted from the office, keyring clutched like a weapon, legs pounding the gravel. I didn't stop running until the neon buzz behind me shrank into darkness. For miles, I ran down the empty highway barefoot, lungs tearing at the sharp night air. A semi eventually slowed, honking, the driver hauling me up into his cab. "What happened to your car?" he asked. It's still there," I stammered. We pulled away, his headlights carving the road. I made myself look backward one last time. My Subaru sat alone, exactly where I'd parked it, driver door wide open, and inside, two silhouettes sat peacefully, side by side, waiting. For weeks afterwards, the image returned every night, that unnatural choreography of shadows, and the handwritten entry already knowing my name. People ask why I sold that Subaru without even retrieving the boxes from the trunk. I couldn't bring myself to explain that the moment I looked into the back seat, I understood the car was no longer mine. It belonged to whatever else was keeping record at Shady Acres.
The wedding had been loud, gaudy, humid with sweat and beer, exactly what New Orleans weddings always seemed to become after dark. By the time Derek and I finally slipped out of the banquet hall, stuffed with fried catfish and champagne we really couldn't afford, it was near 11 at night. My heels pinched. My throat felt sore from pretending to sing along with his cousins. The plan was simple. Head back north toward Baton Rouge, spend the night at a cheap roadside motel, then continue west the following morning. But Derek was restless behind the wheel, impatient. That restless streak of his was exactly why we were here and not home in Oklahoma anyway. When his phone's GPS spun out into an empty, searching for signal bar, Derek grinned instead of sulking. "I've got this. There's a shortcut through the parishes. Locals use it all the time. Cuts off nearly 2 hours if you trust it." I didn't, but he was already guiding the Suburban off onto a narrow side road lined in crooked cypress knees and waist-tall grass. The night pressed against the windshield. Louisiana swamps at night are a landscape you don't forget. No lights but your own headlights. The air hangs close, damp as breath inside a mask. Trees grow wider at the base, their twisting roots half sunk in black stagnant pools. Spanish moss dangles like old lace, brushing against invisible currents of air. Our tires hummed on broken asphalt. Every now and then, high water lapped the edge of the road. Frogs chorused so loudly I could almost feel their throats inflating in the dark. I pulled my cardigan tighter, even though it was still 90 degrees with the humidity. Derek adjusted the radio. Nothing but fizzing static. "We're fine," he declared, as if volume could push reality back. It was well after midnight when the bridge appeared. A wooden span stretched out across a misty waterway as wide as a football field. Railings half-rotted, planks gleaming slick under our headlights. It sat too low, barely hovering over the water's skin. I leaned forward with unease already crawling under my skin. "This doesn't look stable, Derek." "Plenty of cars have crossed worse," he said. "Relax." We creeped onto the boards. They shuddered under the weight. I gripped the door handle anyway, every plank squealing like teeth in a jaw. Halfway across, the Suburban lurched. A violent thunk vibrated through the frame. Derek cursed. We rolled forward, shuddering, and then stopped completely. The steering pitched. "Flat," he said grimly. The air seemed immediately thicker, pressing on my chest. Headlights bloomed behind us. A battered pickup truck lurched onto the bridge, stopping 20 yards from our rear bumper. Its beams shot full into the mirrors, whitewashing everything. 2 men climbed down. Both wore hunting vests, long sleeves rolled. One casually lit a cigarette, end flaring bright in the dark. Their boots clumped long, measured strides across the damp boards. Derek leaned over to me, whispering, "Finally, some locals. Maybe we'll get help." But something about the way they didn't call out, didn't wave, didn't slow from a straight line right towards us, every instinct screamed otherwise. The taller of the two raised his flashlight, beam pointed directly through my window into my face. I flinched, blinded. His partner stood, smiling faintly, hands sunk into his vest pockets. "Rough luck," the smoker said. His drawl was a syrup that stuck to my skin. "Looks like you got a flat. Bad place to stop." The second man repeated softly, almost like an echo. "Bad place." Derek managed a shaky laugh. "Yeah. You guys know if there's a town up ahead?" The first man stepped closer. "Town is a good ways yet. Easier if you just pull off the bridge right here. Safer that way." Behind us, another pair of headlights glared. Another vehicle had come up behind the pickup, blocking the way we had come. And further ahead, through the fog at the far end, I saw 2 more shapes, cars, waiting, silent. The bridge was sealed on both sides. The boards beneath us creaked, with a sound that wasn't just our weight anymore. I realized there were other noises, sloshing, human voices, dull, broken singing that rose from the water below like smoke from a dying fire. My scalp lifted under my hair. I strained to listen, a dozen voices perhaps, heavy boots dragging in muck, a chant without words. The smoker gestured toward our locked handle, tapping it gently. His smile thinned. "Come on now, we'll get you pulled aside. Safer off the bridge." Again, his partner repeated, softly, insistently, "Safer." Derek's throat bobbed. He whispered so low I almost missed it. "It's a trap. Get ready." When the smoker reached for the lock, my lungs finally broke open. "Drive!" I shrieked. Derek jammed the ignition back to life. The Subaru howled forward, tire dragging, rim gnashing metal across the soaked planks. The man's flashlight smashed against the hood in fury, glass shattering, sparks cascading across the bridge. But the car surged anyway, fishtailing forward, boards booming with every stroke of weight. The figures ahead stepped into the mist, but Derek gunned us toward them. At the last second, they dove aside, pale faces slashing past in the headlights like cutouts. The bridge blurred behind us. Steam hissed from the tire. The steering wheel rattled in Derek's hands. Yet somehow, impossibly, the Subaru kept crawling. When we finally rolled off onto firm asphalt 2 miles later, Derek kept driving. 10 miles. 20. Neither of us breathing properly until modern highway lights finally appeared, sterile sodium glow like the hand of God. I pressed my face into both palms, my mouth bone dry. At a Baton Rouge tire shop, barely after dawn, a skinny man in oil-stained coveralls inspected our mess. He shook his head once, twice. This wasn't road debris. "Look here, too clean, too even." He jabbed a finger at the slit in the rubber. "Someone cut it while you were driving slow. Hook blade, for sure." Done it 100 times. My stomach flipped. I didn't ask how anyone had gotten close enough. Days passed, but in my head, I still heard that sound. Voices beneath the bridge. That chant that wasn't words, just rhythm. Boots dragging in water where no one should be. I keep thinking what would have happened if we had obeyed, listened to the calm assurances, pulled aside into the swamp. We weren't supposed to leave alive that night. We were already counted.
We had already been driving for nearly 9 hours, following the endless ribbon of I-35 through Minnesota. The kids, Lauren, 7, and Josh, 4, finally wore themselves out with coloring books and cartoons on the iPad. Both had drifted into the soft, rhythmic breathing of sleep. My wife, Elizabeth, sat pressed between them, smoothing back Josh's hair, humming quietly. By then, my eyes burned. The heater made the car air dry, my hands stiff on the wheel. Coffee from somewhere south of Duluth had already worn off, leaving only that edgy hollowness. I needed rest, even for 40 minutes. So when the blue sign emerged at mile marker 214, rest area 1 mile, I exhaled. It wasn't like the big modern rest stops. No glowing convenience store, no walls of vending machines. Instead, it was small, outdated, a cracked asphalt lot, one pale street lamp buzzing overhead, a squat cement bathroom that looked like a fallout shelter from the Cold War. 2 faded vending machines, one for drinks, one for snacks, sat against the concrete wall, their fluorescent tubes flickering like dying fireflies. 3 semis were already parked along the far row, engines silent, cabs dark. Elizabeth murmured, "Let's just stay here a while." I pulled into the space closest to the lamp, nose aimed toward the access road. Out of habit, my palms lingered on the ignition, just in case. Then I shut it off, the world outside swallowing the hum. Inside our little SUV, silence pressed down heavy. For a while, everything seemed peaceful. Josh curled tighter into Elizabeth's shoulder. Lauren clutched her stuffed rabbit across her chest. I tilted my seat back, listening to the low mechanical tick of cooling metal. Outside, the only sound was wind brushing through barren prairie and the occasional ping of semi-trucks settling their weight. Eventually, exhaustion dragged me under. I don't know how much later I woke. What pulled me up wasn't noise, but a different kind of awareness. Something didn't feel right. I rubbed my eyes. The windshield was covered in streaks, long, greasy smears that trailed downward as though fingers had pressed, slowly, firmly, tracing along the glass. At first, I thought condensation, but when I swiped at one with my sleeve, the smear stayed, tacky, oily against the glass. And there were dozens more. On the side windows, on the back, palm shapes, large and small, overlapping one another, all pressed deliberately against our car while we had slept. My heart thudded so hard, the seatbelt clasp rattled. I turned toward Elizabeth, who was groggy, blinking awake. I forced the calmest voice I could muster. "Windows got dirty from the road. Go back to sleep." But she studied my face, suspicion sharpening her gaze. She pulled Lauren and Josh closer. Outside, the lamp flickered once, twice. The light dimmed, brightened, died again, buzzing like a wasp in a jar. Shape. Near the vending machines, just beyond our headlight reflections, Someone was standing. A girl in a hooded sweatshirt. Her back faced us, shoulders stiff, head tilted forward like she was staring straight at the blank concrete wall. Not moving, not swaying in the wind, just perfectly still. Something inside me needed confirmation that I wasn't imagining it, so I slid open my door, air biting against my throat. Gravel snapped beneath my sneakers. 10 steps closer. Even under the flickering fluorescent light, her outline didn't shift. She was maybe 5 feet tall, arms stiff by her sides. The hood concealed her head completely. And then I saw what made my skin crawl. The face wasn't real. Taped inside the hood was a photo cutout. A cardboard oval with a printed face, flat, smiling faintly, at nothing. A decoy. I staggered backward to the car, adrenaline flooding through me. Behind me, in the thin line of trees, gravel crunch. Slow, careful steps. And then, giggling. A child's laughter echoing where no child should be. I dove into the SUV, slammed the lock. Elizabeth was upright now, voice breaking. "Who's out there?" I couldn't answer. I twisted the ignition hard. The headlights blazed across cracked asphalt, and what the beams revealed made my chest lock. Across the pavement in front of our hood were chalk drawings, dozens of them. Crude stick figures, drawn with small circles for heads and jagged arms. Some of them appeared to be families, others holding what might have been knives. And then above them, scrawled in big, trembling block letters, "Next time, stay asleep." Elizabeth whimpered. Josh stirred awake and began to cry. I gunned it. The SUV roared down the access road, the vending machines and chalk people blurring past in the mirrors. In that last glimpse before the darkness swallowed the lot, I saw the hooded figure tilt sideways at the edge of the lamp. And then 2 more figures stepped from the dark line of trees. Not running, not chasing, just watching. 40 miles later, at a truck stop gas station buzzing with bright LED light, we finally stopped. The kids were sobbing. Elizabeth sat stone silence in the back, too pale to cry. When I wiped at the windows with napkins, the oily streaks clung, leaving faint outlines no matter what. Greasy palms had been there, inches from where our children had slept. Next morning, I called the highway patrol. The officer on the line grew strangely quiet as I explained. Finally, he said, "You're not the first. Some kind of group's been active along certain rest areas. Likes to mess with travelers, always gone by the time anyone checks. They called it games. But it didn't feel like games when I imagined someone crouched against our glass, whispering laughter at my kids sleeping inches away. The rest of the drive west, I refused every blue sign. I'd rather go 20 miles more on an empty tank than stop at another silent lot. By the time we reached Iowa, harsh, midday sun blazed across our windshield. Elizabeth tried to distract the kids with songs. But there, faint but undeniable, still clung a palm print just above the handle of the rear passenger window, pressed deep, large, as if whoever it belonged to pressed slowly, carefully, deliberately. And though I scrubbed until my hands blistered, some part of that shape never came off. Invisible until the light hit it just right, then glaring, taunting. A souvenir, a reminder that they were there, and maybe still waiting for the next time we fell asleep.